Tattooing had always been my livelihood. It had taken me around the world. It was important to me, but sometimes I hated it so much and I would take breaks from it. But it's been the most consistent thing in my life. But it was never really my business until my daughter came and we bought a house and I started having more responsibility and providing for my family. And then I started realizing that there's more than the art part of just tattooing and there is the business side of it, which I mean, there's so many people that have figured that out. It just took me 30 years or almost 30 years. And that shift was really exciting.
Welcome back to the Artful Dollar. A few months ago, actually in October of 2025, I saw a name book a call with me, Jason Tyler Grace. And I was like, oh, I know that name. That's like a tattooer, a really good tattooer. And I spoke with my coach, Chloe, who I've done an episode with her a while ago. Chloe is phenomenal. And she was like, oh, Jason, yeah, you're really going to like him. The two of you, I know you're going to click. You're on the same wavelength. And I was like, okay, cool. So we hopped on a call to talk about marketing and what he could do differently. We ended up working together. We've been working together for a couple months. And we just wanted to do a podcast episode to talk about tattooing, marketing, but really just like we go deep in this episode. I actually do a little bit of coaching with him on the episodes. You can kind of see what you resonate with in terms of the things that maybe he's struggling with that I think a lot of tattooers struggle with right now. So he is inspiring. He is a deep, loving, kind human being, the type of person that I want to have more of on this episode. So enjoy this conversation with Jason Tyler Grace. Welcome back to the Artful Dollar. I have a guest that we've been talking about doing this podcast episode for about a month now. My man, Jason Grace, who is a phenomenal tattoo artist out in Portland, right?
Yep.
Out in Portland. And I feel like a lot of people look up to you, really inspired by your body of work, but not just your work, but your ethos, your philosophy. And when we first got in touch, my coach Chloe in the program, in the Artful Marketer, she was like, oh, you and Jason are gonna totally vibe, like the two of you are gonna connect. And that was absolutely the case. So where we get to work together, but we also, I feel like, developed a friendship here. And so it's an honor to have you on the podcast.
And we've got daughters with the same name.
And our daughters have the same name, Methuselah. Both of our daughters are named Methuselah.
Exactly.
Veda, wisdom. And so if that's not a weird synchronicity, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it was a fun moment when we realized that.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, I'm excited to talk with you, see what we can dig
Yeah,
into.
dude. So we don't even know what we want to talk about today. I mean, let's start with tattoos. Maybe give people that don't know of you a little bit of background, and then we'll go from there, because there's a lot more interesting things we want to explore, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I started tattooing in 97, 98. So it's almost 30 years, and which is crazy. um,
How does that feel to just say that out loud?
it feels like I could say like young man, young woman, like I I'm middle aged now. That's pretty wild.
How old are
But
you?
I'll be 48 in March.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I born in Connecticut, went to art school in Boston for a year in 96 at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, and then started seeing tattoos and got interested in them. Got my first one in Austin, Texas at Notorious Ed's Underground Tattoo. It was a really horrible experience, and I figured I could do better than that. So I dropped out of school, moved back to Connecticut, and got an apprenticeship at a shop called Studio Z, and was there for
What
a
was
bit.
horrible about it? I'm just curious.
The first, so I was a born again Christian, and I wanted to get a cross. I also had like a red mohawk, so like subculture born again Christian. So I wanted to get a cross, and we go in. My buddy Sean, I was his best man at his wedding. We're both 18, so great time to get married. Somebody was pregnant, so the line of the cross is like this, and this kid gets set up, and he goes and pulls back. Next line's like this. He's like, he does a couple more, and he's like sweating, got pale. He's like, let's take a break real quick. He takes off his gloves. He goes in the back. Some other guy came out, put gloves on, sat down, and finished the tattoo.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's
the
one
yeah,
of
the
the
scars are still
worst
there.
experiences I've heard of. Yeah.
The scars are, you could still see it for the other tattoos on top. But I was like, I could do that. I could do better than that, I think. So I had I had gotten a starter kit, like an old Spalding and Rogers starter kit, like the old big toaster. And when I was in Boston, and super Christian at the time, so like I prayed about if it was okay for me to get into tattooing. The starter kit was given to me by another Christian kid, but God told him he couldn't use it, so I got it. And then
Okay.
the first tattoos I did, the first
What
tattoo I
did
did,
God tell you?
go for it. Yeah,
All
that
right.
was
He's like,
yeah.
fuck yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So first tattoo I did was in my apartment in Boston, and all the needles were like pre-sterilized, but I didn't know that, and I knew that they had to be sterilized, so I put the needles in the oven, which melted all the solder. So the needle went from like that to like that, and off the bar. So I put it back on the bar, and I did like a tribal design colored like the African flag on my roommate, and yeah, shortly after that, I decided to go do an apprenticeship.
You're an art school kid who started out by teaching himself. I mean, you broke all the tattoo rules, Jason.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I taught myself. I read that Tattooing from A to Z by Huck Spalding was definitely had good information in it. Still
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I was kitchen magician for a week or two, I think. And then I got so moved to Connecticut to start at a spot called Studio Z in New Haven, and old like an older, cantankerous, grumpy dick. Just like had silver pointy goatee. Just a very not happy man who ran the shop with his wife. And that was going to be 5 grand. So I paid 2,500 up front and started to work around the shop. I got I don't know, like my first few days, I called the tattoo machine a gun. And he had like a 16-pound bowling ball attached to a chain and a clamp that went around my ankle. And I had to wear that for the day as I went and did coffee
You
runs and
sounds like a
helped the
standard issue
customers.
apprenticeship. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I was there for, I don't know, 6 or 7
It helps you
months.
build ankle strength because you need all
Yeah,
that ankle
totally.
strength for tattooing.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense. Totally.
Yeah. Um, he wasn't a very nice person. He was talented, had information. Uh, and then it was like 6 or 7 months in, and I think I had done 2 tattoos, and I was, what, 19. I was cocky. So I was like, hey, when am I going to actually start learning? And he was like, I'm in charge here. You're not in charge. If you don't tell me what to do. If you don't like it, you can get out. So I got out and I started waiting tables at a Mexican restaurant. And
Did you ever
then
pay
I
the
got,
other 2,500?
no, no,
Okay,
I
so you
did not.
paid $2,500, and what did you get in return?
I learned to make needles. I got made fun of a lot. I I got to watch him yell at people. Like it was like an old school shop. So like the front of the shop was all paper, like Japanese paper screen. So you would walk in and you couldn't see in the back. There was like flash racks out front in the waiting room. And one day there was a woman who brought her baby in, and in the so you could hear the machine running, and so it's like this, and then the baby goes. He goes, the machine goes off. Who's fucking shut that fucking baby up? Get the fuck out of my shop. They were different times. um, yeah. So there were lots of kind of funny
So for
stories from that.
$2,500, you learned to make needles, and you got made fun of
and listen to him scream at people. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a deal, dude. That's solid.
it was pretty solid. Yeah. I mean, he used to work with Spiderweb, who was another East Coast kind of old tattooer. So
Oh yeah,
he had
sure.
good information. And but yeah, I left, which was just the beginning of me leaving a lot of shops because I just didn't like authority. Uh, so I went to
I mean, I
Pennsylvania.
think that's pretty common for most tattooers. They get into tattooing because they don't like authority,
Yeah. But
which
then
you that's pretty.
at the same time, there's like a lot of social norms and expectations within tattooing. So people still end up kind of falling into the mold of what they think a tattooer should be. Uh,
Do you feel
there
like
was,
you fell into that mold at all, or do you feel like that mold
I,
and you didn't vibe?
oh, I definitely did at times and did not at times. Uh, I was
What
way
part of the
off.
tattoo artist mold did Jason Grace fall into?
Well, like the apprenticeship part in Pennsylvania, I was really excited, really passionate, but there wasn't any history in that shop. We, there was no like reverence for anything that came before. We were kind of like doing everything from scratch. And so there was like just crazy infatuation with it, excitement about it. And then later, when I got exposed to like more of the history and realized that I was a very small part of a much bigger thing, there was an understanding that it wasn't really all about me, that it was bigger than that. And then there was a part where I was in a really creative kind of fine art, artistic space and was doing really kind of avant garde tattooing that my buddy Gordon Combs says I started trash polka. And in a lot of ways, I was like,
Your
nobody
fault.
else was doing it when I was doing it, but it was like high contrast portrait stuff, kind of like Shepard Fairey with stencil lettering and ink blotches. And I mean, that stuff got me super popular, got me flown to Amsterdam to go tattoo somebody. But then at a certain point, uh, it was at Henry Lewis's birthday party. This guy, Zach Johnson, came up to me. This is in San Francisco. He's like, "Are you Jason Tyler Grace?" He's drunk. And I'm drunk too. He's like, I was like, "Yeah, man, nice to meet you." He's like, "Jason Tyler Grace?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he keeps saying, I'm like, "What's going on, man? What? Why do you keep saying my name like that?" He's like, "I just want you to know I hate everything you've ever done." And I was like, "Damn." um, but that it was that
What?
bumped.
Why did he feel that way? I'm curious.
So I went and I talked to him, I don't know, a few days later. We worked at sister shops. It was Cold Steel. I was in the Castro. He was in Haight Street. And I went and I talked to him. I was like, "What was that all about?" And he was like, "You just haven't followed any of the rules of how this is supposed to be. Like, you've gone off and worked on your own and you like," and he pointed out, like, you don't know how to put in like solid lines. You don't know how to do like solid color. And I had figured out a lot of workarounds that worked with the style I was doing. And I guess I could do those things, but I wasn't really strong. I didn't have a strong foundation. So he pointed
How
that
long were
out,
you tattooing at this point?
probably like 6, 7, maybe 6 or 7 years,
Sure.
8. Um,
Yeah.
but I listened and I took that to heart. And I was like, you know what? That's true. I don't know how to do those things. So that kind of coincided with me meeting some older guys, this guy, Mark Warnick and Tony DeRigo, who we were at a convention one time. And I'm still doing that stuff because I was really busy because of it. But I was also trying to learn new stuff. And they were like, "Man, you're too good not to know some of like the history of this." So they essentially gave me keys and opened the door to kind of understanding the foundations of tattooing that I hadn't really learned in any of the experiences prior. And then I kind of set out to go learn. So I started traveling. I'd go visit those guys. I would go to Rochester to visit the student jet. And I would just go to try to, I kind of put myself through school essentially by going to all these different places. And then I
Yeah.
started to lose my originality because ignorance is bliss. I was ignorant of what tattooing had been. So I was free to make it into whatever I wanted.
I'm going to get right back to this conversation with Jason, but I've been pouring my heart and soul into something over the past 3 years that I'm going to be sharing next week on January 26th. I'm doing a workshop called the Tattoo Forever System, and it's based on marketing that has worked for the past 40 years applied to social media specifically for tattoo artists. This is not some trick or hack with the algorithm. It's really just using the way human psychology works to buy things where we attract people with attraction content, we nurture those relationships, and we then offer repeatedly in a way that feels aligned with our values. So you're not pressuring anyone into getting tattooed, because honestly, I don't think you can actually do that. And I'm going to give you the templates that you need to make this content. You're going to see why it works. So you're actually understanding what content to make and how you should say it and write it and do all the things. But I'm also going to show you how to run it as an ad. And when you mix ads with content, you don't constantly have to feed the algorithm. It's that constant chase of needing to produce and make more that burns out any business, tattoo artists, content creators, whoever. So I'm going to give you the whole thing in 1 2-hour package, and you're going to walk away having a system that you can literally repeat for the rest of your career and hopefully tattoo forever or until Instagram burns down. And then you'll still be able to apply the same psychological methods to whatever is popular next. So if you want the details, hit the link below. You can see more. You're going to get a couple bonuses, things I've never offered before outside of my Artful Marketer program. And this is probably the best opportunity that I've ever offered. And if you're interested in that, hit the link. And back to this episode.
Are you a fan of Rick Rubin?
Yeah.
I was listening to it was a podcast about this guy who read, his book and was just talking about it. And there's this quote, and I'm going to botch it, but it's along the lines of, the people that really do the groundbreaking work, very often it's because they didn't know what the rules were that other people are playing inside of that game, and it's because they didn't even know the rules. And I look at some of the crazy shit that's happening in tattooing, like people tying tattoo machines to car hubcaps and tattooing. Have you seen that video? I don't know if you've seen that one. Or the guy that tattoos like through the gate. People do weird shit. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad or right or wrong, but like I like seeing people that don't have rules to follow, because I think it does ultimately progress the art. And maybe that's not an unpopular opinion, but I like seeing that. And it sounds like while you weren't, tattooing with some crazy contraption like that did contribute to your overall perspective and style in general. Yeah.
I did do wild shit. Like I would have people bring in things that meant a lot to them. So albums, family mementos, and we would just lay it out on the table, and then I would just look at that stuff and tattoo them and just try to like make something out of what they brought in. So
without looking at the tattoo, like you would just be like,
well, just no drawing beforehand. It was just like,
okay,
yeah, just approaching it like you would a piece of art.
I love that.
It was some of that work I really like, and some of it was a cool idea, but it was definitely not great tattoos.
You have to make those mistakes. There's no way around it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say that's something a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do much anymore. I mean, the people that you mentioned that are doing that really outlandish shit are gonna get anybody that's a traditionalist is gonna think that they're fucking horseshit and that they
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
ruining the craft. And but those people that are doing that, they have a sense of freedom that these people probably never had. And if these people end up learning any of this stuff, it'll be a benefit to them But if these people could loosen up a little bit, they might be able to pull in other parts that they never got to.
I think there's, and this goes for humanity in general, but definitely in tattooing, there's just a lot of black and white thinking. And I think what you're speaking is like, let's take some of the weirder, like putting an object on the table and just tattooing. What do I feel? How do I feel from looking at this? But you're also taking, like you said, the rules, the things that people have followed that have helped them produce a solid tattoo, and that's helped you. So I think that's inspiring for all younger and older artists to just embrace a little bit of and let go of some of that black and white thinking.
I mean, but here I am 30 years down the line and I'm doing very, traditional style Japanese tattoos but I'm not a traditionalist in any way. I think I have my ideas about what looks good and what doesn't, but I really like pulling from different things and putting them together and juxtaposing different styles together. Whereas like so many people are specialists nowadays, like they start and they just do one thing and that's all that they do. And I don't know, it it's unfortunate in some ways. But my lady's always saying two truths. I call her two truth Pinkston because everything's got two truths. Because then there's Austin Maples. Like he's only ever really done traditional tattoos, and he's so good at it, and he loves it. And we've often talked because, like, when I was teaching people in Costa Rica, like my apprentice and some other people, I was always like, you want to have all the different tools in your toolbox. You want to be able to use a fine liner, and you want to be able to use a big mag so that when somebody comes in, you have all the tools. But then Austin would say, no, just focus on one thing and do that thing really well. So, and arguably, Austin has been much more successful than I have. And with that laser focus, where I've had shotgun focus and have,
Mm.
you know, there's
I
two
like the two
truths.
truths approach.
Yeah.
I personally subscribe to that as well.
Yeah.
I don't think you did it the right or wrong way. I don't think Austin did it the right or wrong way, you know?
Because there really isn't.
Because there isn't. There just isn't.
Yeah. There's a way.
I'm a big fan of follow what excites you. If it excites you to just focus in on one particular way, great. If it excites you to learn a little bit of everything, and I definitely grew up in tattooing in street shops, learning a little bit of everything. And then at some point, I decided to hone in on a particular style. And because that's what excited me. But if I hadn't experimented with all that other stuff, I wouldn't have found the thing that excited me. There's also, so there's the tattoo Jason Grace, but there's also this other person, and I'm heard a little bit. We've had a couple conversations kind of about, I don't know, what you're seeing in your life. You did this post, or you left a comment on something I posted about shifting your perspective from being the artist to being the CEO of your business. I really liked that perspective shift, and yeah, I don't know, anything just kind of about where you're at now, what you're seeing that you want for yourself, for your life, for your career that maybe you didn't anticipate.
Everything changed after I had my daughter. Like tattooing had always been my livelihood. It had taken me around the world, 2.5 years straight of backpacking and tattooing around the world. And it got me to work at all these amazing shops. And it was important to me, but sometimes I fucking hated it so much and I would take breaks from it. But it's been the most consistent thing in my life. But it was never really my business until my daughter came and we bought a house and I started having more responsibility and wanting and providing for my family. And then I started realizing that there's more than the art part of just tattooing and there is the business side of it, which I mean, there's so many people that have figured that out. It just took me 30 years or almost 30 years. And that shift was really exciting and it opened it up. So I'd say that's a big part of where I am now, approaching it more strategically, thinking more about marketing, thinking more about putting myself out there and what I have to offer. And I think there's the tattoo part, but the other part of my life that's been so important to me is the journey that I had to go on from the kid that I grew up as in a kind of traumatic house to become the person that I am today, who's stable and healthy, and the amount of work that it took to go from here to here, and the amount of like crashing and burning and exploring. So sharing those things is incredibly important to me, and I am grappling with how I want to go about sharing those things. I was working on a book before my daughter came called Show Me How You're Free. It was exploring all these ideas of like trauma, the people that you look up to. Like my idols when I was younger was Bukowski and Hunter S. Thompson. Amazing creative people, but chaotic, selfish individuals. And then
Yeah.
starting to read philosophy and thinking about what it meant to live like a life, an ethical life, a moral life, a life, a thoughtful life, and realizing that there were different people that you could look up to for different things and how important that shift was for me. So I want to shift into kind of sharing more of my stories and
What's one story you could share that you've been wanting to share you could share right now?
I'd say like the importance of therapy of uh well, something I learned recently that I found really fascinating. I just finished a book called The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. He was talking about how we're all born through like nature lottery with different levels of happiness. Some people are born with a higher set level of happiness and some are born with a lower level of happiness. And no matter what happens, you will always rise above and you'll always fall below, but you'll always return to your median of happiness. So some people are more
Hmm.
fortunate. They have a better outlook on life. They have a rosy disposition. Other people have to work to achieve, not even to achieve, some people just have to put effort into being a happier, more content person. And he proposes that there's three ways to do that through cognitive behavioral therapy, through SSRIs, and through meditation. Um, I've used all three, and all three have been beneficial. But the most eye opening for me was therapy. And when I was working in Venice Beach in LA, I had like an emotional breakdown. And I don't know, 20 or 21, still a born again Christian. And I had this really scary breakdown. But in the back of the shop was a card, a gray business card. It had an esoteric symbol on it. It just said Dennis Johnson, therapist. And I had seen it every time I did my drop. So I went in the next day
Hmm.
and I called that number and set up a time to go in. And I walk in, dude, shaved head, silver beard or silver goatee, like round black glasses. His throat's tattooed, his hands are tattooed. And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. And he starts talking to me about my life. And he's like, you tell me all these really kind of traumatic stories and scary stories from when you were a kid. But the whole time you do it, you have a smile, like a huge smile on your face. And that shows me that you're disconnected from yourself, that you're not really in touch with another part of you, and that can really be a root of depression. So he started to get me to ask, am I awake right now? Am I present right now? Taught me to feel my feet on the earth and just feel my presence and to feel if I was smiling and check in with myself and see if I had disappeared or was I present.
Hmm.
And when I was 18, I found out that my father wasn't my father, that my mom had an affair. My real father was an art professor, or he was an art instructor, and she went to go take a life drawing class, and they ended up having an affair. Jack Grace thought I was his kid. When I was a year old, he found out I wasn't, but he still raised me as his kid, still paid child support for 18 years. My birth
Wow.
father, Frank Rump, which I really lucked out on the last name department. Um, Frank Crump wanted he wanted to know me, and my mom didn't let him. And then they were gonna tell me he had to convince her to uh, let him be a part of my life. But he died shortly after they had agreed. that he would come into my life. So I had grown up with his artwork around the house. I grew up with a photocopy of my hand as a kid that was in a frame. My mom sits down at the table. She's holding this frame in her hand and she's clutching it and she's crying. And I'm like, this was like she was going to tell me she was dying or something. And she's like, I've been lying to you for 18 years. You're, Jack's not your real father. So I took that information and it spun me. But until I got into therapy, for some reason, all my anger was directed towards Jack and none of it towards my mother. Because my mom, she was an alcoholic when I was a kid. I grew up taking care of her. So, and I grew up fearful of her. So I had to wear that mask to be okay. Anyway, so he starts challenging me on that and asking me more about my mom. And in my head, my mom was my best friend. And slowly but surely starts chipping away and kind of getting to the root causes of some things. And my mom comes to visit me one day and we go to see, I ask her if she'll go see Dennis with me and we go in and she starts talking and she's crying and saying that she wishes that I would be angry with her because I've never been angry with her about the whole situation. And she's like sobbing. And then Dennis is like, let's check in with Jason and see how he's doing. She's like, Jason, he looks over at me and I'm like, like a huge smile on my face. He's like, okay, stop smiling. Just take a breath. I take a breath and my whole body just starts shaking like this. He's like, just breathe, just be here right now. And I just fucking exploded into tears. And I'm like, all I wanted was a dad. And I had one and you wouldn't let him know me. And that whole experience of having somebody be able to look into your life and see things that you're not able to see and see things that are hurting you or have affected the way you interact with the world, affected the way that you view the world. They affect your paradigm. And if you never become aware of it, you never get the opportunity to come out of it. And life is
Like a
so
huge
rich.
blind spot. Yeah.
The ability to have, if you're born experiencing some things that affected you as you grew up and you have a hard time getting in touch with your emotions or you have a hard time with anger or if you have a volatile temper or you keep repeating the same problems over and over, it's probably a sign that there's something in your life that you haven't dealt with yet. And you probably can't do it on your own. You need somebody with insight to be able to look in and kind of take the junk drawer of your brain and all these experiences and help you separate it and put it into different places so that you can get some perspective and hopefully learn to experience this wonderful thing called life and get to interact with it in a healthy way. And yeah, I don't know. That's one of the most significant.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that story. It's a powerful story. And you said you feel called to share stories. Is that what you want to do? Do you feel called to be that person? I don't know if you're going to be a therapist or anything, but is that kind of what you feel you would
Yeah,
like to? You feel
I've
called to?
recently accepted that young Christian kid. There's a part of that that's still here. Like I have a preacher's heart. I do want to share. The world feels so divided and everybody hates each other, as mostly online. It interpersonally life seems to be pretty good for the most part for the majority of people. And people can have conversations and but there's become such a black and white way of looking at the world that I think was intensified by social media because there's no nuance on social media. If you don't agree with me, then you're a fucking idiot or you're a fucking asshole or you're a fucking leftist
I don't know anything
crybaby.
about that, Jason. I don't know
I
what
know,
that's. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you don't. There's no nuance out there, and it's fucking sad.
When I see content or I see something online that I don't agree with or is just not for me, I don't feel compelled to like attack it or shame someone for it. But I feel like that a lot of people seem to use the internet and social media in that way. And I just want to tell them, like, people call what I do a scam or this or that or whatever it is. I'm like, maybe it's just not for you, and maybe it's for someone else. Maybe what Jason Grace has to say, someone might be like, you're full of shit, Jason. I don't know. But maybe it's just not for you. And I think there should be a disclaimer when you open up the Instagram app. Be like, some of the content you see is just not for you. So just keep scrolling. It's for somebody else,
Yeah, and like when you're a teenager, you're in your early 20s, I'd say up until around 30, you don't have perspective yet. So your ideals are pretty black and white, or they can be pretty black and white. And then
Yeah.
as you get older, you start to see that there's shades of gray. But what's so sad now is that incredible black and white thinking is through all age groups. It's like it's everybody thinking that if you don't agree with me, you're an asshole. I lived in Costa Rica for 5 years and I moved back to the States during COVID. So I was totally out of this whole thing essentially. And I come back and there's a billboard for Black Lives Matter and there's a billboard for Blue Lives Matter. So like,
Okay.
and then they're just facing each other. It's like, Jesus Christ, that is exactly what's happening right now. Like everybody is reducing themselves to one blanket statement or one blanket list of ideals or thoughts, and there's no ability for anything other than that facade of this is who I am. We contain multitudes, we contain contradictions in ourselves. There's and
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, that's such a great visual of what the world feels like, and it does feel like it's mellowed out a bit, which is
You know what I
nice.
think though? I think when someone sees a piece of content, or doesn't matter, the news, whatever it is, and they feel this visceral reaction to like judge, hate, whatever, I think part of, maybe not all the time, but part of what's happening is whatever they're seeing is pointing out some contradiction inside of themselves that they haven't looked at or they refuse to look at. And so rather than kind of looking at, wow, why is this bringing up this feeling in here, let me look inside, they project outward. And I think that, because
Yeah.
you're absolutely right, we all, our identities, I feel like my identity, and I'm sure you can relate, was so wrapped up around tattooing for so many years. That's all there was. It was the only important thing, and that was it. And then as you get older, your identity starts to, while tattooing is still probably one of the most important things, it's certainly, even though I don't tattoo right now, it's still, and I plan on doing some tattooing in 2026, but it's still the most important thing in my life. But my identity, who Ryan is so much more than that. And I see that you've been seeing that for yourself, and it's exciting.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, there definitely was times when that was it. Like I just didn't have much more, but um yeah, it's so much more than that. I gotta say, the other day I woke up and was on Instagram and I saw a thread and it was from some girl and it just said, I just have to say I hate Ryan Roy. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like what? That's just so mean, first off. And what like makes you want to wake up in the morning and just shit on somebody that lives differently than you do? And
Yeah.
like you have kids, like you're a fucking person with feelings. That made me so sad to see. And
Mm.
I think the more that we put ourselves out there, the more we open ourselves up to other people's
Why
opinions.
do you think, I'm curious, why do you think there are people that hate me? Why do you think they hate me? I have my own ideas, but I'm curious, why do you think that is?
I think a lot of people like there's people out there that think any kind of self-development stuff is scammy. Like Tony Robbins, scam artist. Older guys like fucking Jim Rohn, scam artist. People that have the idea of wanting to develop yourself or work on parts of yourself and help guide people into those things. I think that stirs some people up for whatever reason. I think I think you come off a little bit abrasive. Like I'm maybe like the tone, but I think at times you're antagonistic on purpose to kind of stir the pot, and that draws antagonism, probably draws antagonism. I think with how vocal you are and how willing you are to promote yourself and put yourself out there, that when people are predisposed to thinking those things are scammy, then because they're seeing you all the time, they probably think that you're scammy. I
Sure.
would, and then those people are stuck in a really black and white way of thinking because they haven't ever talked to you. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you studied and how passionate you've been about learning these things for yourself and feeling the impact of them on your life and then wanting to provide that to other people. Some people think that we shouldn't
Yeah.
charge for things. I used to have a really hard relationship with money and thinking that wealthy people were greedy and just not good people. My ex-wife was from a really wealthy family in Italy, and I got around wealthy people. I realized that that's not true. And I was talking to Ami James one time, and we were talking about it. But I realized like it's like a coin. I was only looking at one side of the coin. The other side of the coin was like prosperity, and there's greed and prosperity. And then there's the whole like if you turn the coin sideways, there's the ridge of the coin. And I'd say the people that are only looking at one thing without having any open-mindedness or just looking at one side of the coin without any curiosity, if is there another side to it? Is there like an edge to that? Is there other parts of it I haven't seen? It's a closed-mindedness, I think. And
Yeah.
Socrates said certainty is the death of wisdom or curiosity. If you're certain about
Uh,
anything, you're at a disadvantage, I'd say.
did all our power just go out?
You still there?
All right, we're back. I just had a power outage for an hour or two. We were in the middle of this conversation. We don't even quite remember where we were. We were probably talking about some random people on the internet who hate me.
I
Um,
think that's where, yeah, where it ended.
I think you were. I remember it. The power cut off right when you were about to say something profound. You were talking about some story, and God help me if I try to remember what it
It
was.
might have
But
been the coin, like, you know, looking at one side of the
coin. That's
coin.
right. The coin metaphor.
Yeah, and thinking like if you only look at that one side of the coin and you think that it's all that there is, then you're wrong. there's a back side of the coin, there's the side of the coin. You got to be able to take things and look at them from different perspectives and get other insights.
I also think so few people think about what's, and this is like day to day, in person, online, wherever. So few people take any time to think about this person, whoever they are, whether I like them or don't like them. Like they've got stuff going on in their life. Jason Grace has stuff, challenging, hard, fun, exciting, but we've all got so much stuff. And when you see a 30-second clip or you see someone doing something online or you run into someone in the store and you have a weird interaction, it's always, I just think it's so important to like remind yourself like this person is going through some stuff right now that I am completely unaware of. So let me give them some grace, right? Let me give grace to them, to myself. I think about anyone that doesn't like me online. I'm like, let me give this person some grace because you know what? They probably got some stuff going on that I'm unaware of. And something I'm saying is triggering or upsetting, but it doesn't have to do with me necessarily. They've got some stuff going on in their life, and that's the coin.
Yeah, I always lean on everybody's fighting an internal battle that we don't know anything about. So
Yeah.
that always helps me think of just not to get super angry at people or offended. Or we had a really hard year interpersonally with my family and our friend group, lost a lot of people, and that spun me for a loop. But everybody's going through their own shit, doing the best that they can for the most part. I think some people aren't, but whatever. Whatever.
I think everyone is doing I truly believe everyone is doing the best they can with the tools and the knowledge and experience that they have.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't look like they are, like they are doing the best they can with the tools, with the knowledge, the experience they have now. They might need some different tools. They might need some new experiences. They might, to do things differently. I think we all do. But
And
that's why I'm hunting out as much experience and knowledge as I can from other people.
yeah, I think it's curiosity that if somebody doesn't have any curiosity about why they act the way they do, how they act the way they do, or doesn't have some instinct of like how how might I be better at this? How can I be a better person, listener, creator, fucking anything? That there's some people that live without that curiosity, and those are people that I tend not to be super interested in, you know? Like
Yeah.
if if there's no growth, like we lost people this year, like in our friend group, and I had to deal a lot questioning like what we're just different morals, different ethics, different ideas of what was important. But in losing pretty much all of our friends, minus a few, it gave me that opportunity to think about, well, now I get to create, now like we get to create our new community. And those people, we can cultivate it. They can be inspiring people. They could be inspired. They can be, they can have that drive to be a good person, to contribute good to the world. And that's cool. I've
Yeah.
never really had that. It made me think about friendship. Like friendship is usually proximity based. The people that you end up around
Sure.
become your friends. But especially as you get middle aged, it becomes harder to meet people. That a lot of people
Yeah.
struggle with that. Like how how do you do that? Where do you find a new community if you just move somewhere?
I think I always felt like I've never found my people. And I think that's what one drove me to, go out on my own, do my own private studio. But I think that was what drove me, one of the things that led me to want to get into coaching and create this community of like minded people that are excited about growth and looking inside and challenging themselves. And look, it led me to meeting you. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. I mean, when we talked, because I was at Tattoo Smile when I first moved here from Costa Rica, and then when I went out on my own and found my spot, you had said something like view Instagram as your shop, and especially because I'm off the street in a like private, like kind of speakeasy, then that made so much sense. And then also I was making a lot less money than I was like 2 years ago, and you were like, well, what have you done to kind of make up for that gap? And I was like, uh I posted on Instagram. I handed out some business cards. I was like, son of a bitch, I haven't done anything, you know? And like, I've been interested in learning about all the things to do, but haven't done any of them. And you helped me realize like, I love consuming information and learning. And I had been pretty piss poor at putting it into action. And now that I'm on my own and I don't have anybody's voices in my ear on what is cool or right or whatever, I feel so free to charter this ship, and its total success or failure is on me. And I love that.
Awesome. I'm glad that conversation was helpful. It's a mirror, right? I'm just like, all right, well, you're dealing with this problem. What have you done to do that? And I encounter that a lot. A lot of tattooers are like, yeah, I don't really know what I've done to fix it, but it needs to be
Yeah,
fixed. Uh,
right. And then the other
yeah,
thing you pointed out that was really insightful was like that Instagram is just full of amazing tattoos. There's so many amazing tattooers all around the world. And now you're just bombarded with pretty incredible tattoo work. Whatever style you're interested in, you're just like an onslaught of skills and people showing off what they could do. So just showing your work isn't really enough. But you got to show who you are as well, and put yourself out there. Let people feel like they get an idea of who you are, what you're about. See if they feel like they can relate to you. Like whenever, yeah, it was that was a big shift for me. I appreciated that.
What have you noticed in terms of shifting from, all right, I'm just a posting tattoo artist to actually like posting? I know you've had a couple of pieces of content that were really much your voice. How have you noticed that helping or changing anything for your business?
I felt some of it resonate with people, which feels good. I think people have a better idea of what my ideas and approach are. It's also challenging because am wanting to figure out how to share more of the philosophical self development aspect of my character and my life and incorporate that into what I put out there, which having let go a pretty good amount of what people think about me, that's not what's holding me back, but it's like a puzzle that I haven't figured out how to put together yet.
What do you feel stopping you from doing that?
I have a lot of things that I want to share and figuring out what to share and how. I think the idea of like putting just me, like I just filmed a video about like box breathing as a way to manage pain and
Hmm.
also just a form of meditation. Like I've wanted to share different meditation techniques that I've used through the years. But the other day I was tattooing
Yeah.
somebody that were having a really hard time. So I showed them how to do box breath, like inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4.
Yeah.
And it helped him so much. So I was like, I'd share that, which I
Yeah.
haven't filmed. And all I got to do is just put it out there. So when we first started talking, you were like, is it what people think about you that is keeping you from putting it out there? And I was like, it isn't that. And I don't think it's perfectionism. Another thing I picked up working with you was like, it doesn't matter if something hits or goes viral. It's like each one is a penny that adds up to $1. And, each thing just stacks
Mm.
on top of the other one. I
Is
think in
there
some
is
ways
there a
it's like,
fear that it won't do well? Like it won't get the, because you're such a perfectionist possibly in your tattoos. You hold yourself to such a high standard with your tattooing. Do you feel like, oh well, if this content doesn't do well, then I'm just curious, like what's the thing that's just like right there for you that has you hold back from just hitting post?
I guess I haven't distilled it, or I feel like maybe I haven't like distilled it enough to have a really, I don't know. I just,
But if you could identify what is it that's stopping me from just hitting post on this thing and actually look inside, it would free you around it.
right,
And I think whatever it is for you, I think is there for a lot of other people as well. Whether it's the perfectionism or maybe there is some fear of being misunderstood. Maybe it's not necessarily what people think, but will some, you were telling me you had some posts that people were leaving, comments they just didn't understand. They're just like, whatever. I just think these are the things they stopped me from making content of being misunderstood or that I'm going to do something and it's not going to get the result I want. So why do I do it? But then you end up never throwing the pennies in the jar and it never
right,
adds up to $1.
right.
You know?
Yeah, I know that I want to add value. I know that I want to share the things that have been valuable to me. Because tattooing, in a lot of ways, is so, it can be like a very just selfish act. It felt like that for me in the past, but it's reframed now to that I'm providing people with this experience that lets them go through something and come out of it changed forever. And having to endure the pain, and it is this really kind of transformational, empowering, and uh, thing. There's not many things where you walk into a spot and you leave and you're changed forever. Plastic surgeons,
Permanently for the rest
dentists,
of your life. Yeah.
um,
Right.
and that's important. But so I do want to add value and share more.
Do you hold yourself to a very high standard?
Yeah, I, yeah, I think so. I guess so. In some ways, probably in most ways, yes, no, yes.
I don't think you could
That's
do the work that you do if you didn't hold yourself to this high standard. And I think, I don't know if this is what's going on for you, but it might be confronting to that part of you that has such a high standard. It's like, did I, am I doing the best thing? You kind of have to learn marketing and social media in public.
right.
And so does this thing that I made that I'm putting out in the world live up to the high standard that I hold myself to? And the truth is it probably doesn't. And you still have to put it out there to build the voice, the message, the brand. Brand happens. We talked about patience, right? Brand happens, doesn't happen in an afternoon looking through a brand kit, right? It happens over months and years of finding, discovering the voice. And I think that, I don't know, does that resonate for you, that that might be one of the things that might be holding you back?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different ideas spinning and trying to figure out how to coalesce it into what it is I want to share, or just how to go
Have
about
you
it.
heard me tell the story about the pottery teacher with the vases?
Mm, no.
So this guy, he's teaching this pottery class, and he has his class is broken up into two classes. And one class, he tells people, you're going to be graded on making the single best, most perfect vase that you can possibly make. And so we're going to spend the next 3 months for you to just make one perfect vase. Okay? In the next class, he says, listen, your grade is only going to be based on how many vases you make. I don't care if they're good. I don't care if they're perfect. But you're going to just be graded on the quantity that you create. And so they get to the end of the semester and they look at all the people that focus on making that one perfect vase, and they were good for sure. But the work that came out of the class where people were just making quantity was so much more spectacular and fascinating and interesting and beautiful because they weren't bogging themselves down with, is this going to meet that expectation of perfection that the other class was holding themselves to that standard?
Right.
And I think it's the best story to convey how to get good at making social media content. It's like you just gotta keep putting it out there and you find that voice, you find that message, and the people that are meant to find you will find you as you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's how I think about art. You gotta make 1,000 bad things before you can make some good things.
Your first 100 videos where you're talking on the camera, it's just you learning how to talk on camera. That's it.
Right.
Just got to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you've done.
Well, I I have done my 100 videos, that's for sure. We're almost near 100 episodes of this podcast, which is
Oh,
pretty
shit.
wild.
Nice.
And you and I are not done working together, and I really appreciate your dedication, your interest. I've seen you get interested into the world of marketing and reading books, and it's really fun to see you do that. And I'm excited to see what else you get to create with that.
Yeah, I think what I had told you, one of the things I read this book. What's that guy's name that does Story Brand and Marketing Made Simple?
Donald Miller, Donald Miller.
So he proposed that like every business provides a solution to a problem, and that was really like a pebble in my shoe. Like, what problem am I solving by tattooing people? And when I finally struck on it, I was like, oh shit, that is what it is for me. But one, I guess people have to think about what they're doing as a business. Like we're providing a service, but why are people coming to us for the service? Is it just decoration? Is it more than that? And are you offering just decoration? Are you offering more than that? Because I'm really focusing a lot on the customer experience. And there's this great book, Unreasonable Hospitality. And just like go above and beyond and try to make people happy. Give them something that they they carry the tattoo with them, but give them a memory that'll last a lifetime too. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. If you're open to it, I would love just share one golden nugget. What's one big win or something like you would take? You say you've taken away from our experience of working together so far. What do you feel that would be? What's that big win?
You said I'll help you pay for the course with one thing, and you gave it to me, and I used it, and it worked. It was like in all my years, I never really booked out conventions. I would do really good on guest spots, but conventions were always kind of a conundrum. And lately, managed to book conventions more than I ever had in my whole career. So that was good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear it, dude.
I think it's really just realizing that just making good tattoos isn't really enough in this current age of tattooing where there's, I mean, in Portland, I'm surrounded by what, I don't know, 700 or 800 other tattooers in a population of 650,000 people. It's so, how can you stand out? What can you do to make yourself recognizable in an overcrowded market? You know, and that resonated, and kind of that's a nugget I liked.
Well, any other last messages you have for just what you want to share? What can if people want to follow you and see the content you're making and building as you go? What do you want people to see more of in you and your work and your content?
Well, you can follow me at Jason Tyler Grace Tattoo. Check out my new studio. If anything, I would love to contribute some positivity, some thing that just can help us remember that we are all the same. We're all made up of the same shit. We might disagree with one another, but that doesn't mean that the other person is evil. And this is off topic, but I love this idea from Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about your circle of influence. And
Mm.
we have our circle of influence, which is anything that we can have a direct impact on. So your family, your community, your small circle of this thing called life where you can actually have an effect. And everything outside of that circle that you have no impact on is just it's just torture for your brain. You know? I mean, there's so many tragic things happening in the world constantly, and they always have been happening constantly. It's just that we have the ability to see them and
And they're shoved into your face
yeah,
repeatedly every day.
in real time.
Play
Whereas
the
like
same video on repeat over and over.
yeah. Like back in the day, the Game of Thrones where they pour the molten lava on the guy's skull, that's real shit. That used to happen. We've been brutal people. But I know for my own experience, the people that I interact with, what I see in this war zone of Portland is like it's not a war zone. Just if you dial in and focus on what you can have an impact on and love your neighbor as best you can and just yeah, I don't know, try to accept people for where they're at, and
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's what.
Give more grace. That's I
Give
think what the
more
world needs. I think
grace.
people
The
people need to
blessing.
give each other and themselves more grace. That's what's needed.
Amen. Yeah. I got
Amen.
and then I have a poem I learned that I'd like to share, which is awesome. It's
Please.
oh, I can't remember what it's called, but it's out of the night that covers me as black as the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I've heard that. Who do you know who that
I
poem's
can't
by?
remember the guy's name. I learned it from this black dude with one leg in a cigar shop who he was in a black fraternity, I think at Howard University, and they had to recite that. And if they couldn't recite it, they would get like whooped and fucking beat down by their people. Michael Jordan was in this
Mm,
fraternity, and
okay. William Ernst Henley.
yeah, it's beautiful.
I've
I say
heard that
that when I'm in
before,
the
and
ice bath.
that last line is so powerful. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Yeah. Each verse of that thing is so powerful on its own. It's good.
Yeah.
One more thing is that if you were born with the lower level of like happiness or whatever, or you've had some shit and you're not able to live up to, if you're not able to really enjoy this life, then you need to put other information in there. And there's so much information on YouTube. It's like an onslaught of advice and opinions. But there are amazing minds that existed before us, and you can give your brain food for thought by diving into some of these great books, great philosophers, uh, and feed yourself some better information. Because if you cycle on your own thoughts that just through your lineage aren't great, then you can counterbalance that with some thoughts that are fruitful and can enrich your life.
Well, I know that to be true firsthand because when I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed with severe depression from a very early age. And I had been on medication and hospitalizations and,
And
suicide attempts. Like I'd been through the ringer. And that's what I do. I listen to podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks. I have to constantly pour into myself from people that inspire me because left to my own devices, it's a dark
yeah,
place between my ears.
yeah.
Yeah.
10 years old, man, that's rough. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I went on in early high school. I had electroconvulsive therapy. I was placed on every antidepressant, antipsychotic, mood stabilizer for years. I just dealt with depression. And then I did my own self-medication through drugs and alcohol and, got sober when I was 26. And so I think I'm in that range of people that just naturally don't feel happy. But I live a very happy life. I can honestly say I am so fulfilled. I have so much love and joy and fulfillment in my life in everything that I do. But I have to constantly pour into, maybe that's why I'm so obsessed with personal development and reading, because that's where I get my joy, my serotonin.
Yeah, it's totally the same
I
for
never
me.
really thought about it that way, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is like, I'm constantly consuming from greater minds than my own and ingesting it and making it my own and graining it into my own thoughts and my own approach towards life. And without
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I get to do that when I talk to you, Jason. Like seriously. You are that kind of a human being for me. I'm inspired by you. I'm grateful for the friendship that we have now, and I'm so excited to see what else you get to create and where this journey takes us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, man.
All right, if you found this episode helpful, one of the best ways for you to help other artists is to share this episode. Leave a review and subscribe. It helps other people find my channel, and you never know what a difference it might make for someone else. Plus, I will forever be grateful for your support, so I just want to say thank you and have a great rest of your day.